Welcome back to another episode of Open RCT2 Tutorials. In this video, I'm going to show you how to build your very own Slingshot Ride, also known as a reverse bungee, catapult bungee, or ejection seat. You can find these rides all over, from giant permanent installations to transportable, smaller models for traveling fairs. The ride is super easy to create in Open RCT2, so let's get started. So we're going to start with the launched freefall ride, and you want to make sure that the arrow is pointing away from the direction you want the car vehicles to face. So I'm going to turn it around so it's actually pointing to the upper left corner. And you're going to raise it up 1 unit so it's just above the surface, and then we'll add our entrance and exit buildings. And then now you can build the ride however high you'd like. It doesn't really matter. You can make it as high as you want. I don't think I'm going to go any higher because I won't be able to fit it in the screen. But now we need to change the vehicle type, but we need to turn on some cheats first. So you're going to make sure that you have the ride cheats turned on that allow arbitrary ride type changes, show vehicles from other track types, and disable vehicle limits. Now we can change the ride vehicle to the multi-dimension trains, and we just want 1 car, and that's all you need. And then now we can change the launch speed to something that is fitting. So let's put it in test mode and make sure that the ride goes high enough but doesn't fly off the track. So it looks like we can do that with, let's try 67 miles per hour. So let's see, does 67 miles per hour work out? Yep, that is perfect. And the stats that are going to calculate are going to be the same as a normal launched freefall. It doesn't matter that the vehicles are different. The only problem is we want the vehicle's seats to actually flip around, and they're not going to do that as a launched freefall, so we need to change the ride to the multi-dimension coaster. The only problem when you do that is, well, 1, the track's invisible, but 2, the ride vehicle will explode when it reaches the station. So we just want to open the construction window, and we can just use the little blue flag here, and so it will test in ghost mode, so it will just reset itself rather than crash. So that's fine. You can see it's just going to reset itself there. So now we need to change the rotation of the seats, which we can do here as a multi-dimension coaster, but we can't see any of the track pieces. So we're going to open up the Ride Editor plugin. If you don't have it, the link is in the video description. And you can click here and make sure you select the appropriate ride, which is the multi-dimension coaster. And then we're going to hit here ride type, check that, and we're going to change the ride type to the launched freefall and hit apply. So now it appears as a launched freefall, even though the track is multi-dimension. And I'm just going to leave the plugin open for now. And we can go all the way down to the base to the station piece, and we are going to change the rotation to -90 degrees. This is basically a normal seating position for the guests, so I'm going to change every track piece to -90 degrees, and then when we reach the top, I'm actually going to change this one to plus 495 degrees as far as it can go, and you'll see the seats start to spin at the top, so that's what we want to have happen. But I'm going to go down 1 more, so the second to the top will also change to 495 degrees, and we could maybe go to the 3rd piece, do that one too. So the top 3 are all 495 degrees. So we can see the seats flip around, and then they slowly try to get back to -90 on the way down. Obviously, the multi-dimension train resets when it hits the bottom in ghost mode. So let's change this to the launched freefall and actually do it in test mode and see what happens. So here we can see it flipping around at the top and then trying to flip back to -90, going for a second launch, flipping around again, and then when we get to the bottom, you can see here, they rotate back to the appropriate -90 degrees in the station, which is what we want. So if I go back to the multi-dimension coaster, I'm just going to show you what will happen if we had done more than the top 3. So let's say you did the top 5 track pieces at 495 degrees rotation. We're going to encounter a little problem because the vehicles won't have enough time to rotate back to -90 before the station. So as you can see here, as I'm testing it, it's flipping around. It's going to hit the station and go for the second launch. But when the vehicle reaches the station now, the seats try and rotate back to -90, but they were too far past and they can't get back to -90. So I don't know, the guests would be loading into an upside down vehicle. So you want to be careful with how many track pieces at the top of this ride are at that 495 degree seat rotation. So I just like to do the top 3 or top 2, but depending on how tall your tower is, you can play around with this. But for this example, I'm going to change these back to -90, so it's just the top 2 that I'm going to leave at the 495 degree seat rotation. So you can always play around with this, but I like the seats to be at -90 when they reach the station, so this is the method I use, but you can obviously make them spin as much as you want. But now we're going to change it back to the launch freefall, set it into test mode, and here we see everything is working as it should. And we just need to change the ride type now to vertical drop coaster so we can build the supports. So I'm going to close the ride, go into the construction window, and then we can close the plugin for now. And I'm going to rotate, so a vertical quarter turn, and then we're going to go to steep, and then steep to flat, and then flat to steep, and then go back, and we're going to delete this track piece down, and then go back and do it for the other side. So a left quarter turn here, and then we're going to go steep to flat, flat to steep, and then go back and delete those track pieces. So we're just left with these two pieces up top. And now we are going to open up the tile inspector, and we need to move these down 2 units of base height. So if you click here, you can select that track piece, and then we need to go and change the base height. So just knock it down 2 clicks. And then you can actually just hold Control and click to select the other track piece. It's easier. And then we're just going to lower that 2 clicks. So there we are. And now right click here, and we are going to make a vertical track, build it all the way down to the ground, and then go 1 unit beneath the ground like so. And then do the same thing for the other side. Build it all the way down to the bottom and underground 1 unit. Then we're going to go and put the ride into the ghost test mode so we can just see where the vehicle goes, how high it goes up, and that will help gauge where we need the supports to go. So I'm going to delete track from the top down to where I think it looks best for the support, so it's really up to you. So maybe around the 100-foot height or so, and then we're going to do the same thing for the other side. Just delete track all the way down to the same height as the other tower. So that looks good to me, but it's really up to you what looks visually best for your eye for these rides. With that done, we can close the construction window and reopen the ride editor plugin. And once that is open, we're actually going to select ride type again and change the ride type to inverted impulse coaster. Hit apply. So now all of our supports look like the inverted impulse coaster. Actually, I forgot. Make sure you change it to launched freefall first. Now we can hit apply. There we go. So now we have our supports, but there's one more thing to do. We need to open the tile inspector and fix the supports down at the ground. So in the tile inspector, select the surface and then just lower the surface below the track. So just move it down like so, and then do the same thing for the other side. Select the surface, or you could select the track and move the track above the surface, and that will get rid of that tunnel. And then now take the entrance building and move it down 2 units so it's at the surface level, and do the same thing for the exit building. Select it and move it down to the surface level. Now we have a great looking ride. We can put it in test mode, give it a nice paint scheme, give it a little scenery and a station platform, put some paths and queue around, make the entrance and exit building invisible, and there we have it. It looks awesome. And if you want to save the track design, you can do that as well. So you can select the scenery if you want and do all of that stuff. And you can save the track design, but there will be a few caveats when you build it in your next park. So once it's saved, you can then go and build it just like a normal launched freefall ride. Place it wherever you want, but you have to rebuild the entrance and exit buildings, and then you're going to have to go through rebuilding the supports. So you're going to have to change it to a vertical drop coaster and then rebuild each side of the supports, go into the tile inspector and lower each of these pieces down by 2 units, and then you're going to have to build the supports all the way down to the ground and underground ones. You basically have to go through all of those processes again. So once that's done, you're going to, delete the towers down to whatever height you feel looks great, and then go into the ride editor plugin and make sure it's a inverted impulse coaster. Make sure the tunnels are gone at the surface level and move your entrance and exit building down. And that is all there is to it for building this slingshot ride. Now, I didn't think that was too complicated, so I hope you found it easy as well. And you can really customize this ride however you would like. If you want it to be taller, if you want it to be shorter, it's really up to you. You can make the supports taller as well or shorter, however you think looks best. I think this is a great addition to any park. You can even build it as an upcharge attraction and charge your guests for it, just like in the real world. So super fun. And if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. It really helps support this channel. Or consider becoming a YouTube or Patreon member, where you will receive early access to all of my latest videos as well as other benefits. And be sure to check out my swag shop for all your RCT2 merch. And as always, make sure to subscribe, because next time I'm going to be giving you a tour of my mini park called Lost Mountain. Stay tuned for more.